Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in on time. My name is Anika Pulio from the Programs Department here at Triple AZ. The webinar will be beginning shortly. Please, let's just give a few minutes for more participants to join. I know that some are facing some technical difficulties. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, it is 16 minutes past the hour 14 when we were set to begin our webinar, and we give some time for more participants to join in. But in the interest of time, and because I am itching for this conversation, we're going to go straight into our webinar this afternoon. My name is Annika Podio, once again, and I am a programs officer from the Alliance for Accountability Advocates Zambia, and I will be your host for today's webinar. I'm joined by two lovely panelists who have been pioneers and have been championing in the governance space, in the governance and accountability space. And soon I'll give them an opportunity to just introduce themselves to the audience so that we're all familiar with each other. But like I had mentioned, this is a webinar in a series of webinars that are being hosted by AAAZ on various topics. So please do follow us on our social media. Make sure that you're following the news that we're posting, our activities, and also just looking out for opportunities and as well as platforms for interactions such as this webinar. The webinar today is titled Beyond the Ballot: How Voter Registration Shapes Transparency and Defeats Electoral Governance and Accountability. Thank you so much. Going straight into the conversation, I'll allow my panelists to introduce themselves. Mr. Joe or Mr. Andrew, whoever is feeling like going first, please feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to our audience this afternoon.
Hello. I guess I'll go first.
Great.
Okay. So my name is Joe Mapiki, based in Choma, Southern Province. And at the moment, I lead an organization called Transparency and Accountability Lab. It's a local NGO. So in my work, I focus mainly on strengthening good governance, promoting transparency, as well as helping citizens to understand their rights and also take a more active role in holding institutions to account. So I have quite a number of years in community development and also civic participation and anti-corruption initiatives, both at local, national, and international engagements. So I'm also a 2024 Mandela Washington Fellow under civic engagement, where I studied at the University of Virginia, of course, strengthening my democratic experience on how to engage with systems and also how to expand opportunities for young people to participate in governance spaces. So in a nutshell, much of my work involves in engaging communities, policymakers, and as well as young leaders to improve accountability, access to justice, and as well as public service delivery. So that's what I do.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mapigi. That is a long CV, and I hope that the audience this afternoon feels as privileged as I am to have you chip in and just share with us your perspectives on a very integral part of our electoral system and as well as our democratic rights. So thank you so much.
Okay, am I audible enough?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, my name is Asa Andrew Lukamata from Northwestern Province. I'm actually running a movement called Activista Northwestern Province and a club called the Community Youth Boys Club. I've been running the club for quite some time and a member of Triple AZ from 2022 to date. Yeah, and I've been in the governance space for quite some time, from somewhere 2017 in advocacy and activism. We're the people that are making some beautiful trouble in Northwestern. I submit.
Thank you so much. Twimitamwila mwane mwayai.
Mwani, thank you, Mwani.
Asante mwane. Okay, thank you so much. Going forward, as I had mentioned, and for those that are just joining into the conversation right now, we are having the Beyond the Ballot webinar, how voter registration shapes transparency and defeats electoral malpractice. As you may all be aware, we do have an ongoing voter registration that has been going on, I think, for over a month now, and there was an announcement yesterday that there would be a further extension, which just puts more emphasis that the Electoral Commission of Zambia had recognized the need for an extension because there are more voters that needed to be fully registered ahead of the 2026 election. Now, I don't want to speak too much into that. My first question is for Mr. Mapiki. As we are currently in the process, so there's an ongoing voter registration. From your perspective, how do you find that voter registration will contribute to building transparency in the electoral system?
Okay, thank you very much. So, voter registration is, I think, is the best for any credible election, really. The most basic example I would give is just like we do at schools. If you want to do an examination, if you want to examine your students, you need to take stock of who is in your class first, who is eligible to take that exam. So in the same sense, the voter register is the basis for any credible election because it creates a record, a very clear record of who is eligible to vote, who is registered where, and all the particulars of that vote, which then helps to prevent manipulation. Because without a voter register, you'd find that Mapiki votes here today in Choma, then I go and vote in another polling station. So it will be total chaos. So what that means that there will be, manipulation and also enough participation because we'll have people voting multiple times. So when you have, a register, a voters register, which is, clear, it then, prevents all these issues such as manipulation, because then people can verify who is registered. And also, it's from that register where we take stock. We know how many people are registered in a particular, area. Then we compare to how many people voted. Then even as we count the votes and allocate, the votes to all the political parties and candidates, knowing how many votes each candidate got, you are comparing against the total number of the voters that you registered in that particular area against who voted. So what that means that a voters register is what, creates a trust, since everyone can know how many voters are registered in each area and confirm that, that list is accurate. So I think that's how a voter register and the registration process itself can contribute to building, transparency. So it's just the same sense that I gave, like you are about to administer an exam to your students. You need to take account a stock of who is in that class, who's eligible for which course. So that's the sense. The voter registration process, I think, reduces room for fraud, as well as ghost voters, multiple voting, which then strengthens confidence in the final results, because as you count the votes, you'll know against what number of registered voters who voted. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that well-thought response. And I think that you bring a great perspective to the table. Not only is it allowing the commission or the powers that may be to identify how many voters, possible voters they may have, it also allows them to compare how many voters actually turn up on election day, how many registered voters are there in that constituency per se, and how many of them did actually turn up on the voting day, which is definitely good for statistics and data for the country. So thank you so much. Moving forward to Mr. Lukamata. I think for me, I'm just trying, and I'm sure the audience is also curious to know, and Mr. Mapiki had also mentioned to voter registration being one of the ways that fraud and malpractice can be alleviated. From your own perspective and from your own experience in the space, how do you feel that what mechanisms can be put in place to prevent, we've heard of things like multiple voting and voters cards being bought and having ghost voters. In your own opinion and experience, which mechanisms or how well can we, especially as civil society, be able to prevent such malpractice in the electoral system?
Okay. Thank you so much. How best can we as CSOs actually come on board to ensure that there is no malpractice? Already during the voter registration, very few NGOs are on board to ensure monitoring is moving smoothly. Already as a circle of NGOs, we failed in this part and aspect. You can all agree with me. I don't know in Lusaka, but to the look of things in the part of Northwest, I've seen few NGOs who are interested in monitoring voter registration currently, because that is the first part that we need to tackle. Once we get to do the monitoring of voter registration, then we would understand how best we are moving as a country and as a nation. The other thing that we need to look at is we need to create accurate voter rolls. In this sense, we are talking about removing the ineligible voters. So the ineligible voters, we are not talking about people who have registered several times. No, we are talking about we need to go into the database, check who is alive, who isn't alive, who is the deceased here. Are they eligible to come on board to vote, or they are already gone? We need to check all those things. We also need to come up with a dating voter record. We need to check the record and reflect from that record. How did we fare? Let's take, for instance, in the 2021, how did we fare in the 2021? What were the certain challenges that we faced in that? So we need to create accurate voter rolls in that. The second thing is we need to prevent multiple voting in all the polling stations and the like. This will bring us back to the ECZ, the NGO sector, and all other agencies that come as monitors and also as observers. We need to create to prevent multiple voting, because there are certain people who would vote in one polling station and again go and vote in another polling station. This can only be done if we put up mechanism, technology, as we are moving from the old model to technology. We need to put up technocrats that can actually spearhead computer apps to say this person has voted in this polling station and they can no longer vote, where it will show the database to say this one has already been entered and cannot be entered from the other polling station. But without such mechanism, we'll still have people voting and impersonating in different criteria. I think last but not the least on this question, what I would talk about is we also need to enhance accountability. We need to be accountable of the people that we are dealing with. because without accountability, we'll still get to fail. I submit.
Thank you so much. And I love that you tie everything together in your last sentence and say, without accountability, everything fails. So even with the use of technology and the use of new systems and mechanisms being put in place and observation and other things, without accountability above all, everything fails. And that brings me to my next question. Again, if you're just joining in, this is a live webinar in a series of webinars that is being hosted by Alliance for Accountability Advocates Zambia. And on today's webinar, we're discussing how voter registration shapes transparency and defeats electoral malpractice. Please feel free to write your reflections, comments, and even questions in the chat box. Let's continue to interact. You can easily drop where you are listening from in the chat box, your name and where you are listening from. And let's just keep on interacting. I will be able to share your reflections and questions and point of views from the chat box as we continue our conversation. Of course, as we go towards the end of our interaction, I will give time for questions for those who'd like to have that one-on-one interaction with our panelists. Mr. Mapiki, back to you. What are some of the challenges that you feel that young people are facing in maintaining an accurate and inclusive voter register? I know that Mr. Lukamata had spoken to having a database that is up to date and that is accurate. And he also touched on issues of a digital database. But I'll give you the chance to just share with the audience as well what you feel some of the challenges that Zambia is facing in maintaining an accurate and inclusive voter register.
Thank you very much, moderator. So the challenges that we face as a country are a mix of both technical, logistical, and social challenges. I'll first agree with the previous speaker, see how we could employ digital tools in the management of the voter rolls. But that is a challenge. It's a challenge currently because look at the digital divide. If people that are in town, you just heard a few minutes before we started the webinar that some of the people we started late because they were facing internet challenges.